Welcome to Storytime with Mama V. I'm your host, Victoria, but you can call me Mama V. In this show, we go on storytime adventures where magic exists, where brave knights and courageous princesses come out to play, and where the good always defies evil. Now, get comfy, because storytime is about to begin. Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Storytime with Mama V. I'm so excited to see you today. Today, we have a story called Cornelius the Dragon. This story is written by Nadine Reiki, and Nadine comes to us from British Columbia, Canada. Now, this story has a bit of everything. It has magic, it has dragons, it has fire breathing, it has princesses, it has castles, but above all, it has a very, very special message of standing up for yourself is okay. Being who you truly are is what you're meant to be. Let's get right into our story. Cornelius the dragon would have loved his name if he had been named after his favorite plant, the cornflower. But as his older brothers, Rocco and Fury, were named after their grandfather and great-grandfather, Cornelius was named after the fiercest one of all, Cornelius the Great, his great-great-grandfather, who was known for his destructive fire breath. The name weighed heavily on Cornelius because he was not like other dragons, and he didn't want to be. The one thing Cornelius loved more than anything was gardening. He had flowers, fruit, and vegetables of all colors, shapes, and smells growing in his secret garden on the edge of a forest. It was a secret because Cornelius was not allowed to have a garden. Cornelius spent every free minute exploring the forest, which was full of so many plants. He got lost for hours admiring them. But when he brought seeds and plants home to grow, his parents said, "A gardening dragon? Unheard of! What would your great-great-grandfather say? No more gardening!" Cornelius would lie, saying he was going to practice breathing fire like his great-great-grandfather, and instead gather seeds, water his growing garden, and then admire his work. Cornelius even taught himself how to make medicines from the plants he grew. He was a very clever dragon indeed. But Rocco found it strange that Cornelius did not practice fire breathing in the backyard like everybody else. So one day he followed him. He saw Cornelius turn toward the forest, meander through the trees, and wander into a clearing. Rocco hid behind a tree, from where he saw the colorful garden. Snickering, he raced home to tell his parents. When Cornelius returned after another day in his garden, he felt happy until he saw his parents waiting at the front door. They crossed their arms and frowned from their brows to their jaws. Tufts of smoke came out of his father's nose. "We told you no gardening! Dragons don't plant flowers!" His mother's voice shook. "But I'm not just growing," Cornelius started. "You will not visit that garden again," his father growled. "It is not what dragons do." His parents turned and walked into the house. Cornelius slouched and made his way past Rocco, who grabbed his wing. "If I catch you there again, I'll burn your garden to the ground," Rocco whispered. Cornelius's eyes widened before he sauntered into the house. He dragged his heavy tail into his room and did not come out for dinner. He went to bed without saying good night, and it took him a long time to fall asleep. As the sun came up, Cornelius and his tummy felt empty. Over the next weeks, Cornelius did more chores than ever before. Any time he had a free moment, his parents gave him another job. If he was not practicing his fire breathing, he cleaned the chimney. If he was not practicing his flight speed, he scrubbed the bricks of the house. "Miss your garden yet?" Rocco hissed. Cornelius missed his garden terribly, but he knew if he returned, Rocco would destroy it. One day, as Cornelius lay on the floor of his room, he heard a heavy knock on the door. Thump, thump, thump. When he did not answer, the door flung open. "Come!" his father bellowed. Cornelius had a bad feeling in his tummy. His wings drooped as he followed his father to the front door where Rocco and Fury were waiting. "Time for a dragon lesson," said his father. Cornelius's father and brothers took off into the sky. They flapped their wings gallantly, sending clouds of dust into the air. As Cornelius tried to keep up, he glanced down at his neighborhood. It was brown and empty. As they glided past the forest, Cornelius looked away. They came upon a castle with a courtyard and a tall tower in the center. The tower had one door at the bottom and a window at the top, where Cornelius saw a girl staring out, her chin resting on her hand. The dragon circled the tower. His father let out a loud, fiery roar before landing in the grass. "Keep the princess in the tower and stop anyone that tries to let her out." "Ho, ho, 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 ho!" Fury laughed. "Why? What has she done?" Cornelius asked. "This is what dragons do. The king asked us to keep the princess in the tower and stop anyone who tries to let her out," his father called. "Fly around the tower, practice your fire breathing, and do as you're told." His father and brothers took off into the air again, their necks bobbing as they rose higher and higher until they were out of sight. Cornelius looked around. People watched him from the castle's windows. Cornelius was going to have to pretend to be a scary dragon. Grrr! Ugh. Grrr! Slowly, Cornelius made his way to the top of the tower. He circled it once. He circled it twice. He flapped his wings and tried to put on a scary face. Grrr! But he did not breathe fire. He began to daydream about his garden. "Hey, dragon!" a voice called. Startled, Cornelius looked around, but could only see the girl. Me?" he said to the girl. Do you see any other dragons around here?" she asked. "Come down here." "I can't," Cornelius hesitated. Come on, just for a minute," called the girl. Seeing no reason not to, Cornelius flew down to rest on a stone jutting out of the tower. "Why are you here?" she asked. "To keep you in this tower," Cornelius said. "Why?" asked the girl. Because I was told to," said Cornelius. "Why?" persisted the girl. "Because that's what dragons do," said Cornelius. "Why?" asked the girl again. Cornelius paused to think. "Do you even know what I did?" asked the girl. Cornelius admitted he didn't, feeling embarrassed. "I had toast for breakfast," she began, "and princesses must eat fruit for breakfast. But I wanted toast, so I got myself some toast. And then this happened," she gestured at the tower. "You're up here because you had toast for breakfast?" Cornelius asked, surprised. "I'm my own princess!" she shouted into the courtyard below. Cornelius felt that was not a reason to be locked in a tower. He considered flying home to explain to his parents, but worried what they would say. Cornelius thought of his garden. What did it matter if he was a dragon that grew plants? Cornelius became frustrated, like the girl in the tower. This brings us to the end of our show today. Thank you so much for listening. I do want to encourage you to subscribe to the show if you haven't subscribed yet. And by the way, do leave a rating for us. If you'd like to share this episode with a friend, please do so. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next episode of Storytime with Mama V.